Well, hot darn, what's happening, everybody? Christy and I, we are on a hot redfish bite. And y'all, we decided, we were like, you know what? We need to stop and we need to do a quick video because this is one of the techniques that Christy and I use on this channel to catch these redfish a lot. And really like all times of the year. And this is something y'all can do. Texas, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, whatever. And that's how to catch redfish on a Mirrolure. So Christy today is gonna talk to y'all about how to catch redfish on a Mirrolure.
That's right, guys. So here right in our backyard in Virginia Beach and just this whole mid-Atlantic region, we love targeting redfish. And honestly, one of the best bites to catch redfish on is with a Mirrolure. If you guys have never fished with one before, you guys need to add this to your arsenal, your tackle box, because it's imperative that y'all need to learn how to catch fish on this hard plastic. All right, guys, so I just want to show y'all, just to keep it simple, two of our top lures that we use, and this is the MR27. So they've got several different profiles. This is kind of like the middle profile. It's not the super small one, which is the Heavy Dean or the MR17. This is the 27, it's the XL, but they even have one bigger than that. It's the XXL. Works great, especially when the fish bite is super hot. We love to use that one in the fall. This one is really good once the fishing gets a little bit hotter because it's a bigger profile, but you guys can catch so many redfish and trout on this, but especially redfish.
While Christy's getting the second one that we use, which is probably the one that we use the most, just want to talk to y'all real quick about some of the technical things. These Mirrolures, they imitate, we love the profile. Christy's going to talk about that. But for redfish feed a lot on bunker, menhaden, and mullet. And these Mirrodines is what we use a lot, is Mirrodines. But today we're also going to talk about the technique and some other stuff. Christy's going to show y'all, this is the MR17, the smaller one. But these Mirrodines and Mirrolures, what they imitate is a redfish. Redfish feed on crustaceans, crabs, shrimp, stuff like that. But fish are a huge part of a redfish diet, and always, all times of the year. So menhaden, mullet, all that. All
right, so like Jeff and I were talking about, redfish are opportunistic feeders, and they do a lot of their feeding right up in the flats, which is right here in our backyard. So we're fishing super shallow. One of the main reasons why we love to use this MR17 right here is because it's a shallow water twitch bait. It's awesome because you guys can work it in just a couple feet of water, almost up to like a foot of water. So a lot of my people who love using a popping cork, this is really similar. It really keeps your bait above all of the grass at the bottom so you don't get hung up on all the oysters, but it really is ideal because it keeps your lure, your bait presented in the strike zone, and it keeps it in the strike zone. So a jig where it be more up and down, this one keeps it in more of a linear, you know, through the water. And I'm gonna work it for you guys in just a second, but this one is really great, especially if you guys are working really far up in the flats and it's getting in some skinny water. You wanna keep it above the rocks and the oyster beds and the grass and stuff. This guy is gonna be the one to get it done. Then,
yes, you guys, the small MR17 is amazing. Like what Christy's saying, it's more of where a jig you can swim a jig up shallow. It's kind of tough because you have to keep your rod tip way up. You can do weedless. Weedless is great, but sometimes you're gonna miss a lot of fish on weedless. For the MR17 and the MR18, which is the smaller Mirrodines, you can effectively fish them up on a flat and in the areas that these redfish are gonna be. You know, right above that submerged grass, right above the oyster bed, and it's gonna keep that bait right in the strike zone. And these redfish, they cannot resist it.
So you guys, for skinny water, you've got your MR17 and then your MR27. Check out this color pattern right here. This like emulates a mullet or a bunker, and it's just like
a pinfish. Yeah,
it's just a killer color just because of the profile is great, but then also the color of it is awesome. And then this one is this is the Mardi Gras, right?
It's a custom Mardi Gras.
It's a custom Mardi Gras, and this one is absolutely epic. This is probably, the Mardi Gras is one of our favorite colors.
Boom, here it is.
It's got like a softer yellow belly, and then the top, which actually kind of looks like a trout, because the trout's back is, you know, sunning and it's a little darker. So anyway, so
it's like
shallow waters right here. All right, so these are your shallow waters. You got your 17, and then you've got your 27. But if you guys are fishing, say like right now, it's just early spring, but these redfish are still a little bit in like their
transition,
late winter pattern.
Like off the flat. months.
Yeah, so these redfish are coming out of their late winter pattern into like their feeding frenzy and feeding up all the, waiting for all the mullet and the pinfish and everything to kind of move into our shallow waters. So right now, these redfish are still schooled up and a little bit deeper. So if you guys want to still get on the redfish bite, they've made a super awesome version of this 17, but this one is not for shallow. This one's gonna be your deeper water. So if you guys are fishing 5, 10, up to 15 feet, this heavy dean right here, MR18, highly recommend it for fishing deeper. You guys just wanna be patient. So if you guys are fishing those deeper pockets, you're gonna wait for it to pause and then it's gonna sink because it's made for deeper water, so it's gonna sink a little bit faster than your 17 would. So this is great for fishing the sloughs, deeper water, and getting that bait down there and into their strike zone.
Also, in these transition months, more so in the cooler water, when the water's like below 64, 65, the MR18 is perfect because you can get it down to depth. And you can also just work it really, really slow. And sometimes the redfish, just like a speckled trout, they're gonna be very lethargic and they just want a smaller profile. So the MR18 is that smaller profile, and these redfish in our fishery are feeding a lot on gudgeons, mud minnows. Same exact thing. They're just small bait fish, and that's what the MR18 does really well, is it emulates a gudgeon perfectly. So enough talking, let's talk about how to fish it.
Yeah, we're gonna show you guys the techniques, and also just because we're using a small lure, don't get fooled. You guys can catch some of your biggest upper slot redfish on this little tiny lure right here.
So while Christy's strapping on her GoPro, I'll explain to y'all, right now in the spring, these redfish, they're gonna be up on these flats. But these redfish are gonna be, this is that like transition period. So the MR18 is perfect because these redfish, they're also gonna be like deeper off of these flats. It's all you, babe.
So right here, I've got the MR18. Again, the 18 just means the heavy dean. This one's for the deeper water. So you guys wanna get your good long cast. I love these lures because it really helps to get that long cast, especially if you got on like a lighter pound braid right here. You guys can just bomb the cast, especially downwind. And then when you guys are fishing these, basically when you guys are fishing deeper, sometimes I keep my rod tip down and I might do a twitch, twitch, pause. Normally on the pause is when you guys are gonna get the biggest strike by the biggest fish. So right here, I'm gonna twitch, twitch, and pause, and you wait a few seconds. So if you guys are fishing these in the dead of winter, or when the water temps is like below 65, definitely think about fishing it slower. It's all about the cadence that you're fishing in.
Really slow. That's what the bait looks like in the water.
And then I'm just slow retrieve, and then pause for a few seconds, let the bait drop. Oh, right there. Oh, almost had on a fish. All right, so.
And if you do get hit, just keep working it really slow, just like that.
I think I got something on the end of it, that's why.
Oh.
It's working.
So one of the things that y'all want to do with the Mirrolure when you cast it out is you do want it to get to depth. And depending on which Mirrolure that you're using, whether it's the 27, which is the Mirrodine XL, or the 17 or the 18, which is the Mirrodine, just the normal smaller Mirrodine, that's gonna dictate like how long you're gonna wait to let that bait get down to the depth. So a lot of times for this MR18, it's got that heavier, so it's got a faster sink rate to it. But you can see Christy, what she's doing right now is she's keeping her rod tip down, and that's just keeping the bait literally like right in the strike zone. However, if she's fishing shallow, like we have these oyster beds like right up here, then sometimes she'll let that bait get down to depth. And then as soon as that bait gets to depth, maybe she might move her rod tip up instead of twitching it down, just like that, and just keeping that bait right in the strike zone. And what we're going for is a bait that is just kind of like slowly twitching right in the strike zone. And it's honestly, y'all, it's like a popping cork is great, just like Christy said. A popping cork is deadly, but a Mirrolure, can't beat it. You cannot beat a Mirrolure. When Mirrolure is in the strike zone, plus the bite is more fun than a popping cork too. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. And also it's fun because you don't know what you're gonna get into. If you're in no school of reds, there might be some big old trout hanging around, and trout love these. I feel like we catch more trout on these lures than we do in redfish. So yeah. It's cool because...
However, sorry to interrupt you, people do think that just because it's a Mirrolure, you're gonna catch speckled trout. Not the truth at all. Not the truth at all.
Today we've caught probably 30 fish, 30 giant redfish, and not a single speckled trout.
The other thing that you want to do after you twitch it, did you just get bit?
Yeah.
Christy's getting bit. So the other thing that you want to do after you twitch it is you want to hit just like a half of a crank of a turn. What that's going to do is when you twitch it, it's gonna keep the bait kind of like swimming forward. So that's something that we really like to do. Some people don't make your twitch like crazy, just a subtle twitch. And then after you twitch, do like a half of a crank. And what that's gonna do is just keep your bait moving forward, and it's just gonna look way more natural as opposed to like all the way to the side and your line gets wrapped around the treble hooks and all that, which is one of the things that you do want to be cautious of if you're not doing that little half crank after you twitch it.
Yep, and like right now we've got some wind that we're working with, so there's like a little bow on my line, so it kind of helps to keep my rod tip pointed down and kind of like mitigates the wind and the bow in the line. So I kind of keep that rod tip pointed down. Not that you can't have it up, but I just feel like it helps to kind of make more contact. And you guys do want to fish it a little bit on a slack line. It can't be this perfect line. You need the slack, so whenever you jerk it, it gives it that motion. But you don't want like this massive bow, because if that fish strikes it and you come tight, you're not going to get that hook set.
So with the Mirrolure, what I like to do if I'm fishing deeper where I can't see the bottom, then what I'll do is if I start picking up stuff on the bottom, which is not a problem. Honestly, if you're not getting grass on your Mirrolure, in my opinion, then you're not getting it down to depth. So I do like it when I pick up some grass or when I pick up like those little oyster jellies. That just means that I'm getting my bait like right in the sweet spot. These redfish are typically going to be feeding, you know, kind of more towards the bottom, just the anatomy of a redfish, the way that their mouth is shaped. You know, their trout will typically feed up. Yes, redfish, they'll hit top water. Yes, they will feed up, but more times than not, they're gonna be feeding down. So I do like to make sure that I'm getting my Mirrolure down to depth and I'm fishing it right above all the structure. So if I feel like feel some grass, sometimes people will just reel up, you know, because they're like, oh, I got grass on my Mirrolure. I actually like to keep working it because sometimes that grass won't get caught up on your treble hook. Sometimes it'll just fall off. And it could just be like a little piece of grass or one of those little oyster jellies. So, but that's what I like to do. And once I know, okay, case in point, what is this? Look at that, I caught a seashell. That is crazy. Okay, caught a seashell. Here you go, Christy. So once I am generally familiar with where the bottom is or how long it takes these Mirrolures to get down to that depth, what I like to do and what you'll hear a lot of really experienced Mirrolure anglers do is they have like a countdown. And it's not something that's like too methodical or anything, but you do want to have just kind of like a general idea of how long that when you cast your lure out and when it hits the water, how long that it takes for it to get down to that depth. Again, I'm not doing this if I'm fishing really shallow up on a flat, but if I am fishing where I cannot see the bottom, then I'm gonna have like a general countdown. Some people are really methodical about it. So once I get it down to depth, then I'll pretty much, instead of like twitching down like this, it'll just be more kind of even, just like that. But that way I can kind of like, I know generally like where it is, if it's near the bottom or if it's up, you know, then I can, you know, just give it a little bit more time or whatever. But the countdown is really, really, really important, especially to mid-Atlantic anglers when we're fishing deeper water. There's one. Yep. Whoa. Dang. Okay. That's a nice red. Very nice red. Just working it right above the oysters. Oh my gosh. He's just swimming right towards the boat. All right, y'all. Mirrolure for the win on these redfish. Yeah, so one of the other things is I like to fish these reds on like a lighter drag too. You don't need a really heavy drag. Get in the net, boy. There we go.
Oh, jeez, I didn't even know I was hooked right away.
Right.
Yeah, look at that thing. Okay, I see you. I see you, bad boy. Come up on in here. Mirrolure, getting it done. All right, guys, what size fish do you reckon this is? I feel like I need to contrast that if I want to use the word reckon. Woo! I haven't even seen him yet. Oh, there he is. He saw the boat and he keeps making beelines for it.
Dang, that is a nice one.
Yeah, these mirror lures don't play.
This is pretty crazy.
Yeah, this has been nuts. These things are thick too. Like, these fish are no joke. And check that out. He like has a, probably from a dolphin, like right here, this divot. Yeah, something that just probably bit him, and it looks like it's healed since.